So, on our last episode, we added we got the fog working on mobile, which I'm not going to bother showing, but it's trust me, it looks the same on mobile now than it does on our computer, and we added cool little visualization hooks to our pillars here, so now things look cool and move to the music. These each grab a random portion of the spectrum data, and so they respond to the music differently, but they all respond to sections of the music. Alright. So, what we're going to be doing today is actually making the game challenging, and actually making the gameplay meaningful, because right now, if we hold D, we win. Forever. And yeah, so we don't want to just be able to win forever, so that's one of the major problems. But it doesn't actually get very hard, even if you're not cheating and holding D. There's never a point where I really feel like I am in trouble here. This is all pretty maneuverable. So, one of the things that we wanted to have since the beginning, and I am on the right microphone, right? Let's double check that. I am, alright. So one of the things that we wanted to do earlier was to actually make the game speed change over time, and we never actually implemented that. And actually, there's another thing here. We disabled temporarily the display of our score, so I want to actually re-enable that before we forget. So let's first do that. Let's go to, where is it? Our game manager. And open up MonoDevelop. And what we're going to do is on our game manager, we're going to put the display back on here for our scores. And actually, our high score information is not actually correct. High score doesn't load the proper information now. So I'm going to actually fix that real quick. So right now, if we want to display the high score on the game screen, we currently increment it properly, but we don't actually load it properly. So when we load our scores, we should also load high score. So what that will be is high score equals playerprefs.getInt. And since it's the highest score, we want it to be getting our int not high score plus i.toString, but rather high score 0. That's the one we want. So that should contain our actual high score information. So if we hit save and hit play on this, and we check our, whoops, so it says 273 for our high score. I actually want to actually play from the initial title screen here. So go to high scores, it says 273 is our high, we go in the game, 273 is our high, cool. And now it will actually auto-increment when you exceed 273, so this actually means the right thing now. Before, it wasn't loading it, so this would always show up as 0, but if you beat the high score, it would actually be right after that, but only for that session. So that should solve it for future sessions. We don't need to explicitly save it separately because we already saved the top scores with the high score array. But yeah, so I can really get as high a score as I want on this. I think I could probably play this forever if so inclined, and I would never be in a situation where I couldn't continue to move forward. So let's start by actually, instead of just making it harder right at the start, let's start by adding speed to it. And let's add the speed pretty quickly for testing purposes at first. So what we're going to do is, right now our speed is controlled by our game manager. Our game manager contains a function called game speed here. So I think it would be most appropriate to actually do the speed stuff in the game manager thing here. So what I'm going to add is I'm going to add another variable here. We're going to call it public float game speed increase per second. It's a bit wordy, but let's make it so that it adds 1.0 f every second. This is going to be our default value. We're probably going to crank this up for testing purposes, but let's see how this feels first. And all we're going to do is, so if we're in the game, so we're not in the title screen or the high score screen name, we want to, so if we don't have a player, we're game over. If we're game over, we do all this. If we're not game over, we do this stuff. So this is where we calculate our score, and I'm also going to make the game go faster. So we're going to do game speed plus equals game speed increase per second times time dot delta time. And so now if we hit save and play, we should have a game that continually accelerates. And our score will actually accelerate as well, so that's appropriate, I'd say. If you survive and it's going faster, we should get more score. And it's already getting significantly faster here. So let's see if there's ever a situation where I actually just lose when doing this. Still might be hard because we're spawning so rarely, and it's much more obvious now as we go faster that our spawn rates are staying constant even though our speed is not. So, first of all, this does fix the problem of me being able to just skirt by, because our left-right movement speed does not increase, and so after a certain point we're not able to move past the distance that these things are traveling when we're spawning. Man, look at this score. It would have taken me forever to have gotten this score before. So yes, we're definitely going to have to increase the spawn rates along with the speed changes so that things stay relatively evenly dense, or maybe even increase density as the game progresses. Right now, we're definitely not doing that. Though I do feel like there is threat of loss now. It's not a very high threat of loss, but it's certainly higher than it was before. But yes, this is way too easy. So right now, our spawning is not based on our game manager. Spawning is actually based on, if we go into level 1, we have a pillar spawner here that spawns things based on parameters. I think I'm just going to leave it like that. And I don't think I'm going to have the game manager talk to it. We'll just change the values in here, but we're going to add some stuff that allows you to tweak the spawn times and stuff. So right now we've got a min spawn time of 0.1 and a max spawn time of 0.5. I think what I'm going to do is... I am going to have it based on the game manager, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading data from the game manager in randomly spawn, not vice versa. And what we'll do is we'll change it so that instead of a min spawn time and a max spawn time, we will do a... No, does that make sense? I was thinking about making it some sort of ratio based on the game speed. So if the speed is faster, it spawns faster. Right now, I'm just curious for difficulty's sake. I'm just curious if we crank this just down to 0, so that there's literally no time between spawns. So that means it spawns every frame. I just want to see how tough this gets and how quickly. Yeah, this is going to be not beatable.
It's a forest.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, didn't even make it past the first one. So we definitely have a upper end to what we can do spawn rate wise. That being said, right now we're only spawning one at a time. We could actually make it so that we spawn more than one at a time. So let's try that. I'm actually going to play with that. So I'm going to make it so public float, actually public float spawns per speed unit. I'm going to make it so that it's 0.1f. So what this means is, what I'm going to have this mean is, if our speed is 10, we get 1 spawn at a time. If our speed is 20, we get 2 spawns at a time. So basically we increase the number of pillars that spawn simultaneously. And so now what we want to do is, so spawn now might spawn more than one thing. So what we're going to do is, while, no. For int I equals 0, no, int I equals spawns per speed unit times, yes, times our game manager.instance.speed, game speed. So this will give us, right at the start, it'll give us 1. And we need to actually change this to an int. So we're going to make this an int, and we're going to make this whole thing an int, this calculation. So this will give us an integer to start at. I is greater than or equal to 0. No, greater than 0. And I minus minus. So theoretically, at the start of the game, we should get 1 spawn based on our settings here. But if we get higher, we'll get more spawns. So let's see if this actually works. So I'm going to hit play. Oh, and I forgot to change our values back. So I think that's what happened there. So if we go back to our pillar spawner, yeah, so we've still got a min spawn time way too low. What did we have these on? Maybe if I just undo enough. There we go. Min spawn time 1.0, max spawn time 0.5. There we go. So we hit play, and we're back to where we were at the start. And now let's see if the game actually does get harder as we progress. So we didn't save our high score last time. That was because I just stopped it in the player here. So the density definitely feels like it's staying dense, so that's good. I'm dead. Well, I actually died legit.
I think I would have died a few seconds before that.
Really? Okay. That makes me feel good. I'm going to put that score in the high scores. Let's do it. Oh, yeah.
I was heading right, and you went left, and then I noticed when you went left that there was another pillar on the right that I don't think I could have gotten around.
So we already have another problem here. We're not resetting the game speed between plays, it looks like. So if you play again, you immediately start at the speed that we were at before. Which is kind of cool. You can continue and see how horrifying things are. Oh, and we're dead. So let's stop that. So let's fix that. So in our game manager, we have a reset game function. So we're going to find that. And we're going to make sure that game speed equals... And right now we don't have a place where we store our initial game speed. So we should probably do that. Let's go ahead and create a private... float initial game speed. And so initial game speed will be set in start. We're going to set initial game speed equals game speed. Will this work? Yes. When do we reset? Yeah, so we only call start once in the whole game. So this should be fine. And then game speed equals initial game speed here. So let's see if that solves our little continuing problem. Hit play. Okay, I noticed something. So we had one of those pillars going really high, and it actually was going high because we were listening, I think, to the audio listener, so that includes the sound effects from our character, and so the little low value in our movement was actually changing it. So if we wanted to fix that, we could. I may not actually bother with that, but I'm just going to note that right now. As a matter of fact, let's put that in Asana. But we'll do that after we run through here.
Fast enough to test whether or not the speed resets.
Yeah, I would say so too. I'm just going to make it a little bit... I'm just going to go as far as I can, so that we know if the game's actually hard or not.
Do your controls feel sluggish?
Mine?
Yeah.
They do not. Why?
It just seems like with everything speeding up,
that we should have a little bit faster.
Feel slow.
Yeah, the cube, I mean, you don't get a whole lot of motion. But, this is actually kind of fun now that it's going really fast.
I wonder if you'll get to the point where collision will just go right through you.
Yeah, maybe. Alright, so let's see if that resets properly. So we're going to go to start game. And yes, definitely back to slow speed again. Yay.
That first pillar tricked me for a split second there because it grew big with the music. The music made it pop really big, really fast.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So I thought it was zooming in.
Oh, wow, that was a quick one. Wasn't even paying attention. All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and save scene, save project. Let's go ahead and start with this as our first check-in for this episode. So we're going to add these changes, and we're going to commit them, and we're going to call this game speed up and difficulty adjustments.
And high score bug fix.
And high score bug fix. There's a few things here. And before I forget, we're going to go to Asana, and I've already forgotten what I was going to say. I'm going to create a new section. We're going to call it bugs, just in general. And I'm going to put this up near our mobile-only bugs. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put it above mobile-only bugs. And what we want to put in here is, what was it that I noted? Oh, yeah, audio visualizer takes into account the player sounds. We may or may not care about actually fixing this. Comment. Why not? Alright. So, I'm going to go ahead and hit the comments and see what we're at so far. This is the wrong video. Open link in new tab. And view all comments. So, wouldn't pillar shapes affect the difficulty curve? Is possible, yes. Wow, looks pretty cool so far. Epic high score. Still not sure about the strobing and seizure lights, to be honest. Well, we will, well, I mean, if you don't like the strobing seizure lights, the project is up on GitHub. Fork it and change them. So if you want to change this project around, please feel free and give it a go. Good practice, honestly. If there's things that you don't like in the project, please change them. And if you have something that you think is really, really cool, share it with us, and we'll see about mentioning you on the show or helping you out with things if you have things that aren't working right. So, I like seizure lights though. I'm sorry, I'm screwed up like that. We could probably make the fog less seizure-y. We could like change the amplitude down here. Let's look at it. I said I wasn't gonna fix it, and here I go fixing it. So, what do we got? Special effects, spectrum data. This is not what I want. I actually want it on the fog beat. Yeah, this is actually it. So, amplitude multiplier, we could make this smaller, and then it's less seizure-y. So if we go into full screen here, whoops, my change did not save, of course. I'm going to pause it. We're going to go into, I'm going to turn it off of full screen, maximize on play, and we're going to go special effects and just unpause it and change the spectrum data down. It's still kind of seizure-y. I'm not sure if that'll really fix it, and we don't really want it to be negative. Just one. But now we get seizure lines, which we were covering up before. I'm not changing it. I'm just going to leave it as is for right now. So, that went really fast. We're only 20 minutes into the episode. We've already really improved the basic gameplay. That being said, it still seems a bit easy as the game progresses. But yeah, you can see that that pillar is definitely moving based on my movement stuff here. This on the player. If you don't want to see gizmos like the sound thing on there, you can click gizmos and it'll not render them in the game view. So, what do we want to do next? I kind of like it that some of them react to the player sounds, honestly. I know that sounds stupid. It's weird, there's no curvature to the game, but because the things grow in, it actually feels like we're curving around a sphere. It's kind of funny. At least it feels like that to me when I'm actually really focusing on the game. Ah. So if some of you have noticed, on the I put some descriptions for future episodes. We're going to be doing Blackberry on the next episode tonight, and then I've got 3 episodes tomorrow. One of them is Final Polish, one is credits, and then one is submission materials. And the reason those ones I've already preordained is because we really are running out of time to actually do the submission stuff. That gives us 6 scheduled episodes. We might have to do more to do submissions. And so the way I've grouped it up for submissions is we'll be doing Windows Store and Windows Phone Store on a single episode. We'll be doing Mac Store and iOS App Store on a single episode. Then Google Play will get its own, PlayStation Mobile will get its own, BlackBerry will get its own, and then self-publishing on web, PC standalone, and Mac standalone will get its own episode. These ones are the easiest. We'll probably do them last because of that. I'm probably going to be hitting up on Thursday. We're probably going to be starting with either iOS or Android, and then moving immediately to either iOS or Android, just depending on which one we did first. I'm leaning towards iOS first, primarily because they take the longest in submission, so I want to get to them as early as possible. And on the iOS one, we're probably going to be registering under my Pushy Pixels account because I was not able to get the issue resolved where I had the same tax ID between my Pushy Pixel stuff and Make a Game stuff. And I don't have time to actually get a business license and set up a TIN and stuff for that. It's not a situation that you would run into if you have not done this stuff before. It's something that you only run into when you have done this stuff before and you were trying to do it again on a different account. So my apologies on that. All the rest of them will be on the specific Make a Game accounts. I'm doing this overview because I just want to stress that what we're going to be seeing today on the episode is probably going to be close to what we're shipping. I do have one more episode for polish and changes and stuff, but honestly, there's only so much we can do in an hour. And so there's probably not going to be a lot of features added unless we just decide to feature creep the heck out of it right at the end, which, would be very game developer of us to do that. But yeah, so just an FYI, this is not going to get much more complex than what we have here for what we actually end up submitting. So with that said, like right now, I think we are literally at the point where the minimum we could do to actually ship this title. So if we wanted, let's look at what we failed at. Let's look at what we did not get in our design and our Asana stuff. So first of all, I want to go back to our old document, our old living but now dead document. This is the wrong folder. Make a Game Now. In our documents folder, we've got a GDD, and we're going to open it up in TextEdit. And for some reason, this isn't a text file, is it? Or is it a text file and just doesn't show me a .text extension? No, it's a text file, it just doesn't show the extension. Okay, well, thanks. I need to figure out where that change is in my operating system. I'm not going to bother with that right now. So, high concept, third-person object dodging game using 2 buttons. We got it. Where you avoid obstacles that fly at you from a forward direction in 3 dimensions. Nailed it. Story.
There was nothing there.
There was nothing there, so
nailed it.
Controls. The game is controlled by pressing 2 buttons or pressing the left and right side of the screen on mobile platforms. The left button makes the player move laterally to the left, and the right button makes them move laterally to the right. Nailed it. Obstacles. We got killed here, just brutalized. So we've got cylinder. It was actually the one thing that wasn't on our list when we started. Cylinders. I'm going to put a section here called Save It for the Sequel. Sometimes you have to do this. Sometimes you have to be like, we got to call it at this point and ship a title. So what we're going to be saving for the sequel is more obstacles. All these will become bullet points in our sales pitch for the sequel. Let's see. Yes, DLC. Oh, yeah, it could be DLC. Oh, gosh. I don't know if I want to teach people how to DLC. So, level variations. Inside of a tube. We'll change that to an exclamation point. I'd like to get 2D elements in this game as well as 3D. Maybe the main character can be a sprite a la Space Harrier. Well, that's not going in either. And weapons. So a lot under the Save It for a Sequel. Just tab that over and tab that over. Save, and then let's check out Asana. Asana had a whole bunch of stuff that we wanted to add that is not going to be added. Player's character model, sprite model animated thing, more obstacle types, more visualization hooks. I'm actually going to check that one off. We actually did do more visualization hooks. Not a whole lot, but you could always do more yourself too. Score multipliers.
Does the game speed count as a score multiplier?
No, it doesn't, but we do have game speed now, so that's good. Holes that you have to jump with both buttons, or maybe ramps. Those would be so cool. All these things would be super cool, and we're not doing any of them. We might still do that. I don't know. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and save this on the GDD. So yeah, we didn't get everything that we wanted in the game. It happens. Sometimes you have to just decide to draw a line. In this case, we're probably drawing the line a bit early from the perspective of if we were making a title that we were intending to make money on the store, we would want to have more features to increase that saleability aspect. But for the purposes of teaching how to make a game, I think we hit this really good, because the real goal here, I wanted to put publishing on here. And we're going to have publishing, and this is actually one of the most complete projects we've done on the show, honestly, too. I'm actually pretty happy with where we're at. But we've got 30 minutes now to do more gameplay tweaking, and we've got an hour tomorrow to do more gameplay tweaking, specifically. We still may have a little bit extra time, too, because, doing credits is probably going to take less than an episode, quite frankly. Doing submission materials may take less than an episode, too, so we might have some time to sneak in some more changes. What would you guys like to see prioritized on this game? What would you like to see changed? We could probably still do some stuff on game feel here. I kind of wish that there was some sort of, dash that we could do. Some sort of, dodge left, dodge right thing that you could do that just pushes you a certain amount very quickly, but doesn't allow you to do anything while you're dodging. Maybe we could flip the cube over when we do it.
Double tap?
Yeah, double tap for it. You know it. Yeah, you just do this and you're just whoosh, and you fly over.
There would have to be some kind of cooldown, maybe, so that then you couldn't just double tap your way, before you could hold right, and you would never get hit.
Well, I think if you couldn't control, if it just basically pushed you a certain amount of distance, it would become kind of a strategy thing, because all of a sudden you could push yourself into death very easily. But it would give you that little extra boost.
Well, but if you can repeat it as many times as you wanted in a row, then it wouldn't push you into death, because you'd...
Well, you could get hit while you were doing it. You could get hit while you're doing it.
But I mean, if you did it from the very start and there was no cooldown on it, you'd just keep dashing to the right until the timer was extremely high.
I don't think we'd make it so that you could break out of the things that are spawning by dashing for very long, at least. We can currently get away just by holding right for a few seconds, but that quickly becomes untenable. And even if we were to double the speed, see, we're already in untenable category situation there, so it would only allow them to push to a very small amount up.
If you're only doubling the speed.
Yeah. I'm gonna implement it. I'm gonna put something in. I just want to see if we, just to do that. Let's try it. So right now we have.
Maybe we should look at comments. You asked what they
I did ask what people wanted, but they probably haven't seen that yet. So.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Oh, well, no, they have seen it. So, still not sure about. Okay, slow-mo power-up would be pretty cool. Awesome. Yeah, do a dash and the ability for player to destroy pillars or add a score narrator, a la Unreal. Cylindrical. Yeah, we could have some fun with some VO. Let's see. Double tap to the side will only work in the slower beginning, not as you start going fast. Yeah, that's what we were saying. Maybe give the option to use the accelerometer to move left and right on mobile. Also, maybe tilt camera left and right to left and right movements. I definitely like this second idea. I'm not going to cover. I really don't like tilt control, and honestly, that's not fair, though. Like, I really should show tilt control and have it as an option in, like, the options menu, but we don't have an options menu, and I don't really want to spend time doing that, so I'm going to leave that as an exercise to the viewers. Tilting the camera slightly left and right, I think I do actually want that. So, first of all, I forgot about something. If we go into project settings, input, do we currently... Yeah, we currently do have a gravity. So when I'm pressing the buttons, I actually am not playing the game exactly as it is on mobile. Because on mobile, we don't have any acceleration between movement and things happening. So it's actually a little bit better to not use the keyboard. I'm actually going to change it so that it's in parity, so we're going to put the gravity to 1000 and 1000 here. So now if I use the keyboard, it will move just as quickly as if we did it on the... Yeah, that feels about right. So now that I've done that, what were we working on? So... tilt camera left and right on the movements. That sounds actually fun. I'm going to actually go ahead and do that. The trouble is we're going to want to tilt it kind of smoothly, so we're not going to want it to just be directly based on the input, but I'm going to do that first. And we will... so this is going to be easier because one of the problems with our movement like dash thing is... the way we have it set up is the player doesn't move, it's everything else that moves. And so we have to basically change all of our movement routines, which is really just two. It's just move left and right and pseudo move left and right to account for that. It's not a big deal, but I'm just noting that. So let's create a script. We're going to call it create C# script, rotate based on input. And I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the camera ahead of time, and we're going to double click this and actually start writing some stuff. So what we want to do is this is going to be very similar to our move left and right. So I'm going to grab this information and put it into our rotate based on input. Then we'll modify it. Public float max angle equals, let's default it to 30 degrees. That might be a bit much, but I think that'll be a good default value. Actually, let's make it, yeah, 30 degrees is fine. And then public float rotation rate equals, let's have it take 1 second, so we'll do 30 degrees in a second. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we aren't going to be modifying the position, we're going to be modifying the rotation. And what we'll probably do is we'll start a coroutine if when we press something. So this is actually going to be less similar to move left and right and more similar to... We had one that I thought... was... Oh yeah, place down on input. This is going to be closer to what we want. So place down on input plays when we press any directions and stuff. So this is actually going to be more close to... And actually, this is totally not what this does. We're going to copy this and paste this into rotate here. Because this, basically, if we are moving, we play something. This one we actually do care whether we're moving horizontally or like left or right. So we're going to actually have two situations. So else if, and so our first if is going to be if input.getAxis horizontal is greater than 0, or sudo input.input instance.right pressed. So that's if we're moving right. And then else if we are moving left, or the other way we're moving left. So great is less than 0. So if we're, so this is moving right, moving left, and we want to do something in here at some point so that it doesn't complain about the compiling here. And then else we want to return to center. So in this case, we rotate right. Moving left, we rotate left. And then else we not moving, rotate back to center. So we obviously don't want to do anything with audio, so I'm going to get rid of that stuff right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this based on quaternions, and we're going to set up some quaternions, and this is going to be a real ugly crash course in quaternions on this episode. If you haven't done any other Cooking with Unity stuff, you're going to have to just bear with me. Quaternions is a special way of representing rotation. One of the ways that we see a lot for representing rotation is very similar to how we represent position. We've got X, Y, and Z for the position. We've got X, Y, and Z for the rotation. This is what's known as Euler coordinate system. So it's named after some mathematician dude who was working with this stuff, and basically would say that you just define a rotation based on how much you rotated on X, how much you rotated on Y, and how much you rotated on Z in that order. Or maybe in the reverse order or whatever, but there's an order implied with it. In the case of quaternions, it's the way it's actually storing the data is kind of like a vector that represents the direction that you're rotating around and then the amount that you rotate around it. It uses 4 coordinates, X, Y, Z, and W. We aren't going to go over what those actually do internally, but just suffice to say, if you just want to rotate around Y and you just change the Y value, it will not do what you think it will do. You have to convert it to Euler to use it in those terms. The advantage of quaternions, however, is they don't get gimbal lock. Gimbal lock is what happens when you are attempting to basically, here, I'll show you gimbal lock. We can actually put it in action, can't we? So if we have, say, I'm just going to create a quad, and we're going to look at our quad. So if we rotate this in X, it can rotate all around X, right? It just works, right? And if we rotate Y, we can just rotate all around Y, and it just works, and that's great. And you can see that it rotates along this little green axis, and things are great. But if we rotate, say, X to 90 degrees, and then we rotate Y to 90 degrees, then Z, you'll see that rotating Z is the same at this point as rotating Y. They both rotate the exact same. Well, a little bit differently. But yeah, you can see that they're rotating the same way. That's gimbal lock. We now no longer, Y and Z no longer have unique information for this thing. And so quaternions don't have that problem. So that's why we're going to be trying to use them. But because they don't have that problem, they're actually a little bit harder to use, and they're a little bit trickier
Trying to use them.
Well, that's how it always goes, man. There's a first time for everything, right? And this is going to probably be your first time if you haven't seen any of the other shows. So we're going to do a quaternion right goal equals, and what we're going to do is I'm going to equal this to quaternion.look rotation, and we're going to look transform.forward, and the upwards vector will be, how do we want to do this? So we give it two vectors, a forward and an upward. The upward would be our rotated upward angle. So if we took a... I'm probably doing this wrong. Here, what options do we have here? So quaternion dot angle axis dot equals Euler from to rotation, inverse, lerp, look rotation, reference equals rotate towards. How does rotate towards work? From to. So this is what we're going to ultimately be using, but we need to have our from and to rotations. So what I'm actually going to do is we can do a... If we just have a quaternion, hold on, quaternion test dot, what can we do from there? Okay, quaternion test equals new quaternion. Then test dot
Quaternion is spelled wrong. N-R-N.
Oh, thank you. Quaternion test dot. There we go. There's the things. So set, that just lets you set it directly to angle axis, to string, set look rotation, set from to rotation. So yeah, we don't get anything else that spectacular from here. So let's look at what we can do with the transform real quick. Transform dot rotate. Yeah. All right, fine. We're just going to program it in using an Euler because we're just setting these and then we're rotating to them, and this isn't going to cause a gimbal lock problem in this particular case. So what we're going to do is right goal equals. So let's do right goal dot quaternion right goal equals new quaternion, and then right goal dot Euler angles equals. So let's look at our, so it'll just be rotating along the z. So we just want it to be 0, new vector 3, 0.0f, 0.0f, and our z will be max angle. And then we will do the same thing for quaternion left goal, and actually we want these to be declared in here. Private quaternion right goal equals new quaternion, and we will do the same thing for left goal. Left goal equals new quaternion. So right goal, we don't need to do that anymore. So right goal Euler angles equals that. Left goal dot Euler angles equals the same thing but with a negative max angle. So we just do this. Negative max angle, and then what we are going to put here is we're going to put transform dot rotation equals quaternion dot rotate towards. And so our from is going to be our current rotation, which is transform dot rotation. Our to is going to be right goal in this case. And our max degrees delta is going to be rotation rate times time dot delta time. And so that's our rightward rotation, and then our leftward rotation is the same thing except for we do left goal. And then our rotate back to center is going to be rotate towards, I guess we need a centered one as well. So I guess we'll just, actually we can just put in vector 3.0. Vector, oh wait, no, it needs a quaternion. So quaternion dot Euler angles. Oh, I guess just quaternion dot Euler, and we feed it vector 3.0. So let's save that and see if this does anything like we wanted it to do. I've already attached it to the object, so if we hit play, so it's definitely rotating, so that's cool. Oh, I noticed a problem. We're scaling things outside the bounds of the world. But we would not see that if we change our camera angle slightly. So it is actually rotating real slowly, so we're going to want to tweak that stuff. And we probably don't want it to rotate quite as dramatically. So if we go into pillar spawner, no. Game manager. And we're going to change it. No, it's not in the game manager. It's on our camera. On main camera, rotate based on input. Okay. We want max angle to be, let's make it 15 degrees, and let's make the rotation rate faster. Let's make it 60. So if we hit play, there we go. We got a little bit of rotation on that. So we do want to make it so that we can't see the ground there, which all we would need to do to fix that really is just to push hero up a little bit. So just we're going to push hero and the main camera forward. Let's put this at Z0. Actually, let's not move them. Let's just move the ground stuff. So so we'll just move the ground. So Z48. Let's make it Z45, and hit play. There we go, and now we don't have it cutting off on the corners there. Still have that speaker popping thing when we stop moving, which I really don't like. I'm going to add that to Asana bugs. Bugs. Audio pop on left/right movement sound. Oh yeah, I don't have to save or anything. So I kind of like that actually. It certainly is going to make you more seasick when you're playing the game.
It's kind of like the background image that we took.
Yeah, it is kind of like the background image that we took. Yeah, I like it. I'm going to go ahead and check this in. Save scene, save project. We're going to call this rotate on input, commit, rotate on input for camera. Push commits immediately. And what are we going to do next? So the other thing that we wanted to do was, I know we were talking about it, slow motion would be awesome. Let's see. Track the player towards a direction. Right now, all he has is the pushing element. I agree. That's good design stuff. Do a dash. Yeah, that was what we were doing. We're going to do a dash. 10 minutes left in the episode. Do I want to start with a dash? If we start with a dash, it'll encourage us to finish it, right? So let's just do it. And we can always cut it later. So C# script. We're going to... Actually, we're not going to change it to C#. We're going to change our existing scripts on this one. Delete. We're going to go into our move based, sorry, not move based on game speed. We want move left and right, and we want pseudo move left and right. Those are going to be our two scripts that we're going to be modifying. Sure, I didn't know I had made changes. So pseudo move left and right. Oh, I did make a change. I got rid of that comment that wasn't related to it. And move left and right. There we go. These are our two ones that we're going to be changing here. And right now we just, this one's just moving us. We're not worried about anything else. So we need some methodology of determining, So this part's going to be easy. The left press and right press portion is going to be easy. So I'm going to do those first. It's going to be a little bit harder to do not a lot harder, just a little harder to do the get access stuff. So let's just get it working on the clicking the screen / touching the screen aspect. So what we're going to do is if sudo input.instance.right pressed. So I'm going to put actually. So I don't want it to be an else if situation. That's the best way to do this. So we're going to need a timer. We're going to need a private float last tap equals 0.0f. And I'm going to go ahead and just increment at the end here. We're going to do last tap plus equals time dot delta time. What we're going to do is if we press left, last tap equals 0.0f. So this just tells us if we are pressing it currently. It does not tell us if we have just immediately pressed it. So I'm going to have a private bool pressed left, not to be confused with left pressed, and private bool pressed right. I'm going to say last. Press left last and press right last. So, not save as. Save. And we're going to, so if left pressed, last tap equals 0.0f, pressed left last equals true. Missed a semicolon, that's why I tabbed something over there. And what we're going to do is if pressed left last and last tap is greater than or equal to, and we're going to have a new variable here called public float double tap speed, and I'm going to make it 0.5f to start. So if and last tap is less than or equal to our double tap speed, not double tap seed. In this case, we want to move the player somehow. So dash. This is where we dash.
If we're just doubling, then can't we just copy the transformed up position line and just apply it again?
Yes, if we're doubling the speed, yes. But what I actually don't want to double speed, I actually want to move them a certain amount. Like that's what I want to do. That would happen
on the tap also.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So what I want to do is let's make a public float dash speed equals 2.0f and public float dash duration equals 1.0f. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this if before we actually do the movement. So then we're going to dash in this scenario. Otherwise, we do this, and so we're dashing in that scenario, and then if we're not in that scenario, we're going to do press left last equals true. Now the problem here is yeah, this isn't actually going to work the way I'm setting this up, because we got a situation here. So if we held down the button, we would end up in this situation because we've pressed left last. Like so 2 frames in, this would immediately dash us because we have press left last and last tap is less than double tap speed. So what we want to do is, how are we doing this right now? If we go into our, why can't I go to this? Go to declaration. Here we go. So sudo input, all it does is, oh yeah, it does nothing. All it does is just set itself to false, because if you're not touching anything, it'll reset it. So so this only gives us our touch. So this isn't equivalent of pressing down on it. It's the equivalent of just having the button held down. So we basically need to check for that here. So we need press left last. So I'm going to do another private bool button press. Let's default all these to false equals false. They do anyway, but I like to be explicit about it. And we're going to save this. And so if press left last but press left last and not button pressed and last tap. So this is the situation where we do this. So we want press left last equals true, button pressed equals true, and so if we do this, we dash, else we do all this stuff. And then if right pressed, we're going to do kind of the same thing. I have a last tap, right? Private, wait, why is this? Oh, that's our problem. Missed a semicolon up there. So I'm going to paste this in here, and then we're going to move this one into where we want it on here. And so in this case, we do a dash. And I'm also going to put a private bool is dashing. Of course we're dashing. So this cube is not very dashing. And what do we want to do? So if left pressed, if right pressed, if not right pressed, and not left pressed. So we'll just do these ones here. So if neither of them are pressed, then we are going to set pressed left last equals false. Pressed right last. Actually, we don't want to reset these, because we don't. If we're not pressing anything, we might tap, and we still need to know that. So, but what we're going to do is button pressed equals false. And finally, press left last and press right last. We don't actually reset the other ones, so we're going to do the opposite here. So we're going to do, first of all, this one should be pressed right last. And we're going to set the opposite here, pressed left last. And this one will be equals false. Pressed right last equals false. And what else do we need? So we reset the last tap. Last tap plus equals time dot delta time. I think this is set up. So what I'm going to do is, instead of actually writing the dash code this episode, we'll save that for probably tomorrow. But what we will do is we will just do a debug log to see if this is at all working like we expect it to. So debug log dash left and debug log dash right. Now remember, this is not supporting the button pressing stuff. This only supports the screen clicking right now. So if we hit play now, we go to our console and I click and we move to the right and we move to the left. I click again. Oh, we did a bunch of dashing left, so it's not working exactly right. So if I release and push again, release and push again, double tap, I'm not getting any dash right. Yep, definitely did something different than I was expecting. So dash left starts printing and keeps printing if we do a double tap left. That makes me think that we're doing something different on right somehow. Oh yeah, so this one would be if right pressed left last, not if left pressed last. We still have the problem of it repeating, but we'll get into that in a second. Dash right, dash left. Okay, so that's working. And then what we also need to do is we need to make sure that button pressed equals true here. And we want to make sure that button pressed equals true here. Do we need to do anything else here? Probably not. Let's go with that. Save. So now we dash right, dash left. Okay, it's still doing a bunch of them for some reason. But it is actually stopping after a moment. It's just doing a huge number of them. And then it stops making new ones.
I think maybe it stops when the counter gets higher than the dash threshold.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So,
are you checking is dashing, and are you setting is dashing? Or were you going to set is dashing?
I was going to set that in the coroutine. So, let's see. Dash left. I just still think that this shouldn't, because if not button pressed, right? So how's it getting a button pressed? Did I not save this? I saved it. That's weird to me, because this should only be printing if not button pressed, right? And we're setting button pressed to true. Weird. Oh! Of course. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So our problem here... Oh, yeah, we're going to run into some real issues. It's because this is on every single object that's moving. And so every single pillar that is in the scene is going to print one of these. So that's actually appropriate. So, and actually this may not bite us in the ass. We'll see what actually happens. So I'm going to call that a wrap for this episode. We're going to say partial dash implementation push commits immediately to origin commit, and I'm going to call that a episode. Wrong thing. Twist. So, thank you for joining us tonight. If you have any questions, please email me at pushypixels@pushypixels.com. You can also tweet me at Drakfire. That's DRAKFYRE. You should send Phil a get well letter to at Magmalemur, MAGMALEMUR. You should support our Kickstarter. It's totally awesome, and this show will stay free if this Kickstarter goes through, which is not looking so good so far. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, thank you for joining us. And next episode, we're going to be covering what is it called? Registration for BlackBerry stuff. So if you're interested in BlackBerry, I know I am. We will be covering that next episode. So thank you very much for joining us, and you guys have a great night.